Right here is the Ember Light. It's properly mounted and secured to the cab with screws. It is not cracked, chipped, or damaged. It is clear, not foggy. Right here is the mirror. It's properly mounted and secured to the cab with bolts, all of which are properly tight, and the mirror is not cracked, chipped, or damaged. This is the driver's side door. It opens and closes properly. The door handle is secured. It is not damaged. The weather seal is not damaged. It is fully attached and not missing any pieces. The hinges are securely mounted and are not bent or broken or missing any pieces. These are the steps. They're properly mounted and secured with bolts to the side of the cab. They are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There are no debris on them, which would cause me to slip, and they can support my weight. This is the fuel tank. It's properly secured to the cab with straps. The straps are tight and secured to the frame with nuts and bolts. There are no shiny substances which could indicate a loose strap. The fuel tank is not dented, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged, and is not leaking. The cap is on tight, and the O-ring is not damaged. If it were, I would replace it. The fuel line is secured to the tank and has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and is not leaking. The electric lines are secured to the tank and are not cut, frayed, or torn, and has no exposed wires. DOT reflective tape is present on the back of the cab. Right here are the clear reverse lights. They are properly mounted and secure to the cab. They are not cracked, chipped, or damaged, and clear, not foggy. This is the exhaust. It's properly mounted and secure under the cab with clamps. They are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There is no black soot around the exhaust or clamps which could indicate an exhaust leak. This is the frame. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There are no excessive holes. The cross members are secured to the frame with nuts and bolts, and they are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. Right here is the catwalk. It's properly secured to the frame with nuts and bolts. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There are no debris which could cause me to slip, and it can support my weight. Right here is the quarter fender splash guard. It's properly mounted and secured to the hanger and frame with nuts and bolts. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged, and it adequately covers the tires. Right here are more steps. They're properly mounted and secured with bolts and nuts to the frame. They are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There are no debris which can cause me to slip and can support my weight. This is the driveline shaft. It's properly secured inside the frame to the axle. There's nothing wrapped around it. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. The U-joints are not loose and are properly greased. This is the torque arm. It's properly mounted and secured to the frame and driveline with nuts and bolts. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. The rubber bushings are not weather checked or damaged. These are the air lines. They're properly mounted and secured to the frame and brake canister. There are no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and have no audible air leaks or hissing. Right here is the dual brake chamber. It's properly mounted and secured with nuts and bolts. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. The clamp is secure and tight, and there are no audible air leaks or hissing coming from the diaphragm. Right here is the slack adjuster. It's securely attached to the push rod, which is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. The cotter pins and keys are in place, and it is properly greased. It is at a 90-degree angle with no more than 1 inch of play. This is the S-cam. It's properly mounted and secured with nuts and bolts to the drum. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. It is not flipped over, and the spring is in the set position. This is the brake pad shoe lining. It's properly set to the drum. It is not oil soaked, cracked, or damaged. There's at least 1/4 inch of lining. Right here is the brake drum. It's properly mounted and secured to the wheel. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There is no excessive grooving or heat discoloration, and is free of grease and oil. Right here is the leaf spring hangers, the front and the rear. They're properly mounted and secured with nuts and bolts to the frame. It is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. This is the leaf spring. It's properly mounted and secured to the hangers. There are no bends, breaks, illegal welds, cracks, or damage. Right here is the U-bolts. They're properly mounted and secured to the axle with nuts. They are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. There is no shiny substances, which could indicate a loose bolt. This is the shock absorber. It's properly mounted and secured to the frame bracket with nuts and bolts. The rubber bushings are not weather checked or damaged. The shock is not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged, and is not leaking. The lower perch is properly mounted with nuts under the U-bolts, but on top of the leaf springs. The rubber bushings are not weather checked or damaged. This is the airbag. It's properly secured by the mounting bracket to the frame with nuts and bolts. The bag is fully inflated and has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and is properly mounted at the bottom to the leaf spring. These are the dual rims. They are butted rims, which are properly secured to the axle. They are butted together, which means there's no space between them, there's nothing wrapped around them, and there's no debris in them. The inside and the outside of the rim are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. All 10 lug nuts are securely tightened. There are no rust streaks or flakes, which could indicate a loose lug, and there are no cracks around them to indicate an over-torqued lug. Right here is the hub assembly. It's properly mounted and secured to the axle with bearings and bolts, all of which are securely tightened. The hub has no bends, breaks, illegal welds, cracks, or damage, and is not leaking. I'm checking under the hub for pooling of oil. If there were oil, I would report it to a mechanic. These are the dual non-steering tires. They are recapped, retreaded tires. They are both properly set to the bead of the rim. I am checking the tires to make sure there is no separation on the sidewalls or tread. The sidewalls have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. The tread has no uneven wear, bald spots, or cupping, and must have at least 2/32 of an inch of tread. Right here's the valve stems. They are not bent, broken, illegally welded, cracked, or damaged. The metal caps are on tight. I hear no audible air leaks or hissing. If I were to check it with a tire gauge, it would be inflated between 100 and 110 psi. These are the mud flaps. They're properly mounted and secured to the hangers and frame with nuts and bolts. It covers at least 90% of the tire and is no more than 6 inches off the ground when fully loaded. There are no tears or missing pieces. DOT tape is present 100% across the top of the mud flap. These are your lights and reflectors. They are red and clear. They are your parking and reverse lights. They are not cracked, chipped, or damaged, and they are clear, not foggy.